There were so many stories, different angles, but I think the one which comes to mind the most was Robson Mamba, the Shevnin guy. Just that journey from Chawama to England, I guess, from Chawama to US and England.
Mm.
And basically, it was really a story of resilience, saying it doesn't matter who you are, but success sometimes is a decision.
There was a time when someone recommended a guest, and I think I was chatting with this potential guest, and we were all set and we were all ready, and I was so excited to have this guest on the show, and then she just ghosted me. The little social media that I do in terms of editing, promoting for the videos, and all those things. So I think I have grown, and just growing at an individual level from the mentorship that comes with watching this podcast. So when we film it, I also watch just like everyone else who's in the audience, and I learn from the guests that come on the show. I learn about money and I learn about people, and I apply what is applicable to my life, and in that way I have grown. It's brought out your negotiation skills because you negotiated and they really reduced the price. So I think that's another skill that you learned along the way, the negotiation. Maybe it's always been there, but the resilience was also seen from your end, because most of the time for me, when I just feel like it's become overwhelming, like, is this even worth it? And you just be like, no, we have to keep being consistent, no, we have to keep pushing, no. So I think you were actually the person who was like always committed to the cause.
So when they ask you at why are you married, it's things that they bring out negotiations in you and all of those things. So just
Wow. If you have been watching us for the past 8 months and you still haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for, my brother? What are you waiting for, my sister? Can you hit the subscribe button and continue to engage with us so that we bring you the content that is going to take us even more than 8 months further. I think we are enjoying what we are doing, and we know that you're enjoying our content. So thank you for the support, and continue to support us.
hello, welcome to the Money and People podcast, the show that connects the dots between financial success and the power of human capital. Today we do something different. We move away from debates and interviews to being a bit more reflective. We are 8 months into the show, and we just wanted to have a discussion on how what we have learned about money, about people, and about ourselves. And of course, to help me with this conversation, I do have my co-host and my lovely wife, Delia. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm very, very fine.
He's lying. He's coming down with something.
I will rise. All right. So, yeah, just to get everything started, 8 months.
Yeah,
How has it been?
I think it's been an interesting journey. Um, yeah, I think we've learned and grown a lot in the 8 months that we've been doing this than if we wasn't doing it. How has it been for you?
No, it's actually been something very, very different. I think it's historically it's something that we always wanted to do, I think, from day one. And we did different things, and then it was just nice to see the show come together eventually. So it's been a very, very, it's been a very good period. When we started, what did you imagine this podcast would be?
I think um, at first, I think we both thought it would just be us talking about money related stuff, people related stuff. But I think as we got to doing it, we began to evolve and to realize how important it would be to have people who are experts to come on the show and talk about money and people, because it's a very broad topics spanning over entrepreneurship, personal finance, climbing the corporate ladder, leadership, and etc. So I think we wanted to talk about money and we wanted to talk about people, and we've done that and we're still doing that. So I think for me, that's what I saw. Yeah.
Totally agree. I think for me, I enjoyed the I enjoyed the most the coming together of, sharing our own expertise in a sense, but leaving the stage for leaving the stage for others as well. Being able to bring people from, different walks of life, different industries, different fields, and we know for a fact that these are gems. I
Yeah.
think I always call them gem, who are really impacting the areas in which they operate. They're impacting not only the workspace, but they're also impacting other people's lives. Sometimes very, very quietly. Most of these people we had on our show are people you won't really see, you know, uh, in certain settings, so to say. But people really succeeding and pushing quietly, and I think I really enjoyed that part.
Yeah, me too. I guess we got to bring a different kind of podcast from the traditional podcast where we are just talking in general, but we got to actually bring experts and entrepreneurs and to learn from them. And someone said today that it's like a masterclass, and I agree with that because I'm sure if you have been following and taking notes, you have been able to elevate because you've learned how to position yourself to be able to rise in the corporate ladder. You've learned how to be mentored. You have been mentored on this show on how to
Hmm.
run certain businesses. You've been mentored in this show on how to be a leader. So I think with that is it has just led to a lot of growth, and that's something that we hoped would happen at the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you look back, how close or how far was reality from the vision that we had?
I think reality has been much bigger because in the beginning it was just you and me filming at home on an iPhone or a Samsung. Let me not say, because there were times when the iPhone let us down and we had to bring in
iPhone.
the
Okay, no, let me
Samsung.
not do bad advertising. Buy Samsung.
Really?
Yes, I won't say
No,
anything about iPhone,
no,
but buy
no. It's not
Samsung.
about to be about
Samsung
that.
is your all-weather friend
Wow,
through
it's
thick
not
and through
even about
thin.
to be about that, but when we started, we were filming in a corner in the dining room at home where we had a study table and we sit in that corner and you film an episode, I film an episode, or we film an episode together. I don't think we had the whole idea that we would even be able to film outside the home. We would be able to bring in different guests and meet so many interesting people. So for me, it's different, and the reality is different, and it's much bigger than what the initial vision was.
Yeah, I mean, taking us back, I mean, if you look at the launch video, if you will, we did set out our mission, really, our objectives. And I think I was having a look at it not too long ago and saying, we stuck to the script and possibly did better. We may have imagined it at a certain level, but I think the scale has been a whole lot bigger.
Yeah, and I know 8 months is like such a random month to do a reflection. But those of you who've been with us from day one, our OG day ones, comment in the comment section. You watched those first episodes where we were speaking about our intention of what we want this podcast to be. Have we achieved that?
Yeah, you looking forward to getting that feedback. And what's one highlight moment for you so far?
I think a highlight moment for me so far is just I don't think it's a moment, but it's just all the times that I've had to meet new people. It's exciting. So for me, out of the whole experience of podcasting so far, that's been the highlight of podcasting. It's getting to meet new and interesting people. And funny enough, I still talk to a lot of the people that I met here. Some of them have even become people that I go to and ask a lot of life questions just because of how I was able to connect with them. So that's been my highlight. What has been yours?
I think meeting people has been great. Talking to friends. I mean, you'd always talk about different other topics, soccer, what have you. But to then come to sit at a table and you're then talking, in your case, entrepreneurship, in my case, careers, and it's actually having a serious conversations with people who you've grown up with as, being your friends or your siblings. So just having to have a conversation with my friends, but having to have different conversation, I think that's been big. In addition to a lot of other things, of course, but that's one thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
So, which one was in the early days? It must have been a bit scary. Could you take us to a time when, especially in the earlier interviews, the nerves which you had, the different funny moments which probably were behind the screens, and just what it was like saying, okay, now we're bringing people on the show.
Okay, I think in the beginning, when it was just you and me, there was a lot of pressure to prepare because then we are the ones doing everything. Like, you have to have enough content to fill in a whole episode. So when we brought in people, that reduced the pressure off of us. Now we are focusing on directing the podcast in terms of what questions are we going to ask. So we prepare the questions, we research the person coming on the show, but we are not the one that has to. Yes, of course, we have to know this topic, what it's about, so that we can ask the important questions that will bring out the important answers for the audience. But at least it took away those nerves. And even when the guest comes and they're like, I'm feeling really nervous, I've never been on a podcast, that the fact that I'm relaxed because I know I'm not the one asking questions, it was giving me enough um empathy for the other person, and I was able to encourage them to say, no, this is just a conversation, let's just pretend the cameras are not there. And most of the time afterwards they would even be like, this has felt so short, I even forgot the cameras are there. So it was a bit nerve-wracking in the first days when we had to be the ones to come up with all the content and give the expert advice on everything. But once we took that load off ourselves and the guest is the one that has to prepare and bring all that knowledge, it became much easier to manage the nerves. And the main work is now to manage the nerves of the guest.
Yeah, no, I mean, I fully agree. What I do remember was load shedding in the early days. Um, and sometimes was very uncomfortable because you then had to do so many shoots. And I think in the first interviews, my bigger fear was always, am I not inconveniencing this person?
Or
Is
when
it,
the power goes
yeah,
off.
when the power goes off, because you find somebody is in their zone and you feel like you're actually ruining, you feel like the show,
Yeah.
you actually feel like that the show is ruined, you're going to go off topic. But we had, and that's the beauty about dealing with talented people. They're not sidetracked by trivial things.
Yeah.
And they have this level of maturity where they understand the environment and they're able to adjust without you. They made it easy for me, if I can say, because they were able to just naturally adjust and, make progress. I think in terms of interviews, I mean, I've interviewed so many people. I mean, it's in my line of work. I don't know how many people I've interviewed, probably in their thousands. But this was also different as well. It's a different setting. It's not on a panel where you're recruiting. This was a different type of interview. So I think in the early days, I had a lot of fear of how it would go. But once we started shooting, I was like, why were you stressing?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it got, I believe it got better with time, actually.
It got better with time, but let us not fool you. We sometimes do get nervous. I know there are times when we are driving to film and I don't know if sometimes it's the guest or it's the topic or it's just one of those funny days. We sometimes say to each other, okay, today I feel nervous all of a sudden. I don't know why. So even though we've been doing it for a while, I think if someone is like camera shy or anything, I don't think that should deter them from starting to podcast, because I think the more you do it, the less nervous you become and you begin to get used to it. Even when you have that off day where you're nervous, you will just remind yourself, like, look, how many times have I done this? Yeah.
Hmm. And what have our guests taught us about resilience, ambition, or struggle?
Resilience, ambition, or?
Struggle.
I think so far my guests have really when I say my guests, I'm talking about, because most of the guests that I interview are talking finances and entrepreneurship. They've really taught me that with business, you just have to keep going at it. No matter if it's the person I interviewed who does a restaurant business, a salon business, a beauty bar, or whatever, the like for each of them, they had their challenges in their business and they just kept going, and they highlighted that, like, it's seasons. Sometimes business is doing bad, sometimes it's doing good, but they still stuck with it until such a point that the business was stable again. So yes, they have really showed me that they are resilient, and that in this environment, if you want to own a business or if you want to go into any successful venture, you just have to stick with your passion and to use a lot of your instinct, because you are blessed with this instinct that is like, sometimes it's your gut feeling, sometimes maybe it's God trying to tell you something, but all of them have just highlighted the fact that they stuck to what they felt was the right path for their business, and they just held on to it, and it ended up rewarding them. Yeah. And on your end?
Um, I think from a careers perspective, it's always been, I mean, most of the people I've interviewed, it's been careers, leadership, and so on. It's it's always been about taking lessons from every experience that you go through. We had guests talking about how they learned from being interns or head boys at school or head girls, and whatever little work that they were doing, always found ways and taught themselves to go over and beyond. Also, I think another learning point was the fact that it's never a straight line. You always have challenges, but the goal is there's an end point in sight. And what you just need to do is continue, and that becomes your motivation. Where do I want to be? And you keep pushing and working and striving towards that. And, face the challenges as they come through, face the obstacles, face the opposition. Everybody goes through that stuff. You're not alone, you're not unique. But the guys who get to the finish line are those who realize all of these things fast enough and they readjust, position themselves, and still know that navigation will be difficult, but it's never impossible.
Okay.
Yeah. And have you noticed patterns like similar fears or similar motivations?
I think ugh, I think one of the patterns that I would have noticed so far is just how most of our guests, like, especially when you talk about career, when you ask them what made them decide to do what they're doing, you find most of them is because maybe a family member was in this career,
Hmm.
or because they wanted to make money and they thought that this career will bring them money. So it was just an interesting, funny thing for me to notice, is that our career or ambitions is usually shaped by our environment, so what the people around us are doing, and also by motivation to make money.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. How to say? I think I agree with that. There's not so much to add. I totally agree. And what's one story that still sticks with you?
I think one story that still sticks with me is the story of MFK, because I worked with MFK, but I think when she came on this podcast and asked a few more questions, that we got to know a bit more about her and her journey, and just how I think in that episode, I got to learn a bit more about women in leadership and just how different it is for them, the whole experience, because it's not every facility or company that is built for women. Like maybe we are trying to think that we've reached this stage in development where there's a space at the table for all women or whatever. But I remember some of the things she talked about when she was working on a mine site and how that wasn't yet in a point where it's accommodated for people, but also specifically for women. Yes. Then another thing that I learned from her journey was basically when she was now talking about the future innovation and AI in mining. I got to learn a lot about that as well because sometimes we think AI is ChatGPT and we think of AI to be so shallow, but just learning from her the capabilities that AI has opened up in mining, that really stood out for me. And for you?
Um, there were so many stories, different angles, but I think the one which comes to mind the most was Robson Mamba, the Chevening guy. Um, just that journey from Chawama, coming from not having much to, from Chawama to England, I guess, from Chawama to US and England.
Mm.
And basically, it was really a story of resilience, saying it doesn't matter who you are, but success sometimes is a decision. And he taught himself, he was motivated by his uncle. I mean, you can just watch the episode. He was motivated by uncle, but basically, what was there was he had set out on a mission to do better for himself and to succeed and to be a leader. And he made it. We can say he made it. I know he's still on his journey, but if you see where he was coming from according to his story and where he is, you can see that this person is actually going many, many places. And yeah, I mean, I really wish him all the best. I mean, we were together in high school and so on. I really wish him all the best, and I know he's going to make it. But there were so many different stories, but I think if I'm to pick one, that was really one of the highlights. Yeah. And were there moments when we felt like, yes, this is why we're doing this?
Yeah, I think for me, moments when I feel like that is when we get feedback from our audience who are watching to say, oh, this has really helped me, like the knowledge and the insights that have been shared are really interesting and very helpful. So those are the moments when I feel like, aha, this is what we are here for. And also times when I get calls, because I do get calls sometimes. Like this past week, someone called me and said, oh, there was that guest on your podcast who provides this service. Can you please give me her number? Then there's another week when someone said, "Oh, someone would like a contact for the mental health doctor who came on the show because they would like to use those services where she can talk to their corporate about that." And also there was another time when someone called me and said, "Oh, you had that guest who has a maid center. I really need a maid, you know." And that person now calls me and tells me, ever since I appeared on the podcast, I've been getting a lot of phone calls about my services. So I'm like, yeah. So there's actually networking happening in the background, and people are learning about these services, and they're actually um, guests contacting other guests on the episode to be able to provide different services. And for me, that's just like, yeah, that's why we are here, because we wanted to smoke out what people are doing in the background, and now it's visible, and now people are contacting those people and requesting their services. So that's what has given me that, like, yeah, that's what we're here for.
I
Anything
think for
that's
me,
done
it's
that for you?
just, I think keyword has been nuggets. I think every time somebody watches the show and they say nuggets, they've picked up this, the fact that the content has a certain depth to it that, like you said, and somebody said earlier, that some of them sound like master classes and somebody's able to learn and apply something to it. I think for me, that's what gives me a rest and joy to say, yeah, we're doing this. So nuggets, somebody being able to learn something, pick out something, and they apply. That's always, yeah, that's my big item. That's my big ticket item.
Okay.
Yeah. Technical fails. Do you have any?
Technical.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, just issues to do with some of the bad. What were some of the bad moments you had, challenging moments?
Okay, so not just technical,
No,
like the
no, no, no,
sound, the
no.
lighting.
Just, yeah.
Okay, for me, I think that the epic fails that I've had, I think number one, in the early days when you and I were filming ourselves, there was a time when we filmed an episode, and I think the whole afternoon we had been trying to get it right. And then we finally filmed it later on, and the lighting was so bad.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we still went ahead and posted that episode. And you can see how bad the lighting is. But anyway, and I think another part that was like a fail for me was there was a time when someone recommended a guest, and I think I was chatting with this potential guest, and we were all set and we were all ready, and I was so excited to have this guest on the show, and then she just ghosted me.
I remember
She
that one.
just ghosted me, like she stopped picking my calls on the actual day. And the previous evening, I had even talked to her, reminded her where we are filming from, and I kept calling her and she just wasn't answering. And that was like terrible. And I think that, I don't know if that was the same day, but there was a day when, no, 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 that was different, when you had two of
It was
your
the
guests
same day.
cancel and mine also
Yeah, it was the
cancelled.
same day.
Ish, guys.
Yeah, we went through some things that day, I think.
Filming podcast is not for the faint-hearted. Like, it's good to have guests, but I think with guests come their own challenges sometimes. If they don't show up, then you may be stuck.
Yeah, and I think the setback for me was always the the lack of realization by some of the guests who then would ghost, as you say, um, where there's no courtesy to even say they're not going to be able to make it, because doing a podcast is not easy. It actually costs time, it costs money, and you've set up, people have blocked their calendars, they could have been doing other things, and then yeah, on the other side, you just think, oh yeah, no, I can do it next time. It's fine. I'll skip this one. Can do it next time. And you're thinking, we could have talked about it and could have told us, earlier. We could have seen how
Then we
best we
would
could
have
have
found another
rescheduled.
guest. Yeah.
And that's all. That's all that I guess even other podcasters might face. And I think the only thing that you're asking is just let us know in advance so that we can make adjustments, save on time, save on some cost. But I think the assumption is this thing is already there. It's just to walk in and walk out. But
Yeah.
there's actually a lot of work that happens in the background. So, yeah. And what were your ugly moments?
Ugly moments. I think, you know what? For me, it's the same ones that I have been able to describe just now, whereby you are ready, set to go, and the person just doesn't show up and they don't communicate. And even after they don't show up, they don't apologize. And life just goes on like that. So I think for me, those are the same bad and ugly. You know, they
Yeah.
say the good, the bad, and the ugly. So for me,
Mm-hmm.
the bad and the ugly of podcasting is just when someone doesn't show up and they ghost you. But I think for a young podcast, there's only so much you can do about that, because again, it's not like you can tie people to a contract
Yeah.
to say if you don't show up this and that, because you're also at the mercy of the guests. You're trying to get as many guests on your show, so you sort of have to just understand and move on with it. Some of the other ugly moments was like before we found places to shoot from, was just issues like where to shoot from. It's not easy because there aren't that many studios to shoot podcast. So that was also like not really an ugly, but a challenge that was
Mm-hmm.
faced along the way. But yeah, thank God we are where we are now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the frustration of finding venues um takes it. It does take it. And also just from a facilities perspective, you find certain venues will say, yes, we can do this, but they are not designed to do
Yeah.
it. So it's just that assumption that all you need is a bit of space, a few square meters, and you're set.
Yeah.
But there's actually a whole lot more involved in it.
Yeah.
And from a growth perspective, how have you changed as a person since we started?
I think as a person, I've begun to um, learn a lot more about, like, being in front of the camera, being confident, being able to speak publicly. Okay, public speaking has not really been an issue for me, but with public speaking, I think the more you do it, the more better you become at it. So I've grown in that aspect that I am able to polish up on my skills and presenting skills, and obviously to be able to speak in front of a podcast. I also watch more podcasts right now to be able to say, okay, what is it that our friends are doing in order to be successful podcasts. So in that way, I've just learned to better be able to engage with our guests, with our audience, grown in also the little social media that I do in terms of editing, promoting for the videos and all those things. So I think I have grown, and just also just growing at an individual level from the mentorship that comes with watching this podcast. So when we film it, I also watch just like everyone else who's in the audience, and I learn from the guests that come on the show. I learn about money and I learn about people, and I apply what is applicable to my life. And in that way, I have grown.
Yeah, I think for me it's a free mentorship. I don't have to pay for it.
You pay for it with your time.
Yeah, yeah, no, I think it's that. I think just having to learn from a lot of diverse but strategically aligned individuals.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of learning which comes with that. And do you think we've become better listeners, thinkers, or communicators?
I don't know about you, but I feel like I've become more engaging. The audience will verify if I have, and I hope to become even more engaging and to also be clearer, both written and spoken, to learn about different forms of communication. Like, okay, this type of communication is for the YouTube, this type of communication is for our socials. Um, and to also, I think I've also learned basically, yeah, I have learned to be a good listener who is able to listen and to follow on the conversation based on what the person is saying, because it could just be an interview where a person asks and they answer. I ask a question, they answer, I move to the next question. But I've become a better listener because I'm listening to learn, and my follow-up question will be to get an even deeper understanding. Yeah. And for
Okay.
you?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, with frequent interactions, especially with rich minds, you have no choice. I mean, if you don't learn to become a listener or a thinker or a communicator, um, I'm sorry for you. So I think with the different individuals that we have interacted with, they've brought a certain level of maturity, certain level of expertise, a certain level of knowledge, from which we've been able to tap. And sometimes, like you said as well, it also just in terms of communication, in terms of listening, you're also listening and say, oh, how else can I work with this individual? Sometimes you find yourself picking up the phone and say, oh, yeah, I need some advice based on, the podcast you talked about this, but could you elaborate a bit more? Because I'm facing a similar situation. How do I navigate the woods? So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of personal skills, what personal skill did podcasting force you to develop?
Social media. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Social media, learning how to just like what kind of thumbnails are catchy, what kind of
Mm-hmm.
titles are catchy, what kind of topics would appeal to the audience, um, what kind of posts would be engaging. And we're still learning that. It's not like it's something that we've learned. We'll still learn and improve. But I think social media has been something that I've been learning, like what happens behind the scenes.
I would
And
say
for you?
networking.
Yeah.
Yeah, being able to network, being able to identify talent from, larger pools. Again, it's in my line of work, but also outside of it, where you're able to have a brief conversation with someone and you're able to say, look, this guy is a gem. We're going to draw a lot of value, not just for ourselves, but also for our audience. The things that they speak about, the things that they bring to the table, is definitely going to inspire or change somebody else. And so that ability to pick and say, that one, that's the guy we need to speak to. Yeah. And what's the one thing you admire about how the other co-host has grown?
How you have grown.
Yes, me.
Um, I think, let me see, from the beginning, um, I think you were one person who was just open to seeing like how this thing can grow. Sometimes I remember even at the start, before we even knew that we wanted to podcast, I was like, we need to start filming content and sharing ideas on social media. I saw a camera that we can buy. Okay, let's buy it. Okay, we need to film. We need to find someone who can help us with the filming and all that so that we don't have to um, struggle and spend so many hours trying to edit. Okay, let's do it. So I think for me, I could see that you were just open to embracing that, the journey. You get what I mean?
Hmm.
And so whatever you've picked up along the way is because you've been open to it. You've been open to the networking, open to being mentored for free, open to improving your skills with communication and all that. And I can just simply attest to that, that I've seen you progress in those areas.
I think you've become a bigger scallywag. I
What?
mean, yeah. It's just,
It's like an inside joke for those who don't even
well,
know what a
yes,
scallywag
yes.
is.
So she's scally,
No, I'm not.
but
We
look, it,
can debate all day because you're the scallywag.
I'm open to it. No, but I think your diversity of skill has come out the most. You've always been diverse. Trying this, trying that, but this had been, how to put it, focused and sustained and structured with an actual vision and being able to do so many different things, bringing stuff together. And also, I think also the confidence has grown quite a lot and the never die attitude. So, I mean, taking back to the filming that we had, which we eventually shot in the dark, it was actually darker than it seemed on the Samsung phone, but because it was Samsung, there was some light which
This
came through it.
debate. Yo.
Keyword being Samsung.
Hey.
But I think there was a real test of resilience where we just said we're not leaving this place until we shoot. Most people would have stopped after trying for 2 hours, for 30 minutes or 1 hour, 2. We were at it for quite some time until
But
we
I
got ready.
think that resilience is you. Because I even remember, even with the issue of the venues, where one of the venues where we were filming were becoming difficult, they woke up and decided to charge us a ridiculous amount of money. And me, I was so frustrated. I didn't care. I was like, you know what? We can just find somewhere else. We can even go and look for another place. But I think you negotiated. Aha, it's brought out your negotiation skills because you negotiated and they really reduced the price. So I think that's another skill that you learned along the way, the negotiation. Maybe it's always been there, but the resilience was also seen from your end, because most of the time for me, when I just feel like it's become overwhelming, like, is this even worth it? And you just be like, no, we have to keep being consistent. No, we have to keep pushing. No. So I think you were actually the person who was like always committed to the cause.
So when they ask you at why are you married, it's things that they bring out negotiations in you and all of those things. So just saying.
Wow.
But anyway, so if the next 8 months were a season, what would you want it to look like?
I think I would want it to just look like more growth. We've learned a lot. We've made mistakes along the way. We know what works and what doesn't work. So I would just want it to look like more growth. I don't even want to complicate it, to
Mm-hmm.
just multiply on
Mm-hmm.
whatever growth we've made so far. And I know the multiplication will be quite exponential because now it's with experience. We started off without experience, now it's with experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a case, yes, I mean, agreeing. It's a case of you're good, what can you do to be better? And just being on that path of consistency, being on that path of, continuing to do it. Sometimes there are weak moments where you feel, "Ah, can we pass?" And sometimes things don't seem to be going your way, but you just say, look, there's a place I want to be, there's a place you want to be. And all of these feelings, thoughts, fears, setbacks are part of the journey. So season two should be about perfection, I think. Yeah, getting great at it. Yeah. And what conversations are you dying to have?
Not necessarily dying. I just want to keep talking about money, and to keep learning about people. So, in terms of talking about money, I'm dying to bring in more people that I can talk to and find out how did they start this business, or how are they running that kind of business. So far, we've brought in certain people running certain businesses, but there's other businesses that we haven't yet touched. So I'm
Mm,
dying to see what it's like to run a barber
mhm,
shop, what it's like to run a supermarket, what it's like to run a laundromat. They are called laundromats
mhm,
where they do
mhm,
laundry. And so I'm just dying to bring in more money conversations where I get to learn about businesses that we haven't yet explored on this show.
mhm. Um, for me, it's having conversations and learning and exchanging ideas on especially how to make the career journey easier. First of all, just from an organization, from a cultural perspective, do we need to change certain cultures nationally for starters? Is our national culture what it should be? Does it need to be changed? Once we get that, we drill down to organizations. Our organizations were governed to create a path where you don't have to do what shouldn't be done to get to the top. I
To the
mean,
top.
what I'm trying to say is having conversations, engagements, learning, sharing ideas on how to make anybody's career a lot easier
Yeah.
than sometimes it's made out to be. I think one of the frustrations I keep getting from individuals, and it's really genuine sometimes, of how they work hard but do not feel appreciated. How some people, some organizations, we hear stories of you need to belong to this clique or you need to belong to that group. You don't know how to talk to the right people. That's why you're not growing. And I'm thinking, shouldn't growth just begin and end at me going over and beyond my contribution towards the business strategy and
Yeah.
delivering that value which is seen either whether I'm loud or I'm quiet, but I should only be judged on the merits of the inputs I put in, as
Yeah.
opposed to no, you need to polish shoes, you need to just finding a
Office
way to kill
politics.
just finding a way to kill all of that
Office
noise. I think it's
politics.
very, very unnecessary. I mean, if you want politics, there's a place for that, but can it be outside of the organization? And the
Look,
funny
no,
thing,
not everyone has the money to go into mainstream politics. So maybe they're hiding
oh, so they're
in
hiding
the
in the
office.
company. No, guys, go and do it elsewhere, please. We beg.
Some
Leave.
of us are just trying to do our
We're
job.
just
Bye.
trying to do our jobs. Leave the organizations for business and end it there. Politics elsewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what do you want listeners to take away as we keep going?
That it's a journey. It's not an end point. So, whatever that we are learning on the show, and whether we are in business or we are going for work full time, that embrace the journey and the ups and downs and the challenges and continue to learn and grow from the journey. Trust the process.
Not like Arsenal, of course.
Wow.
But
You people are always bringing soccer into stuff. Why?
because soccer is so results driven, everything happens on the pitch.
That's what
Winning
someone will
is
tell you who's bringing politics to the office. You see? You're bringing soccer, them they're bringing politics. You're just the same people.
Mm-mm. But soccer, they don't injure each other.
Wow.
Yes, they're genuine people.
Wow.
But
Right.
anyway,
Right.
what do I want listeners to take away? I think learn as much as you can. Um, we are also learning on this journey. We'll strive to bring the gems, as we call them, guys, people who've walked these journeys before us, people who've succeeded genuinely. We'll try to bring as many such people as possible, people who have a different vision of life, who have a unique way of viewing things, but very successful at it. Another takeaway is definitely the North Star. I think I learned about the North Star, and that's why it's been a buzzword this week. Always have a North Star. North Star never moves. Wherever you go, there's always a North Star.
Yeah.
And just figure out how you're going to get to it, but have a North Star.
Okay.
Yeah. This podcast has taught us that money isn't just numbers and people aren't just stories. It's the intersection where real life happens. Do you agree with this?
Yeah. I
Okay.
agree. It's simple. That's even our mission to connect the dots between financial success and the power of human capital. So there's that intersection somewhere
And, and
between.
and and to just go back, how did we arrive at the name Money and People?
You don't know how many people ask me that.
Yeah, I
Every
figured
time,
that's why.
every time I say, "Oh, we've got a podcast, Money and People podcast." Why did you name it Money and People? But every time I explain why, then they understand.
Hmm.
So I always I don't know what story you tell them, but this is my story because I'm in the finance space and I used to share financial content. He's in the human capital space. He used to share career content and all that stuff. So we then decided to just come together and do the show together. And what easier way to translate finance and career than just call it plain and simple money and people? How do you explain it when people ask you?
Not exactly what she said. She was fine at Champ. I was that HR guy. She still is. I still am. And I think we said, how do we?
Yeah,
In the end, it was a collaboration.
yeah.
It was networking. We were networking.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you have anything to say to the listeners?
Yes, if you have been watching us for the past 8 months and you still haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for, my brother? What are you waiting for, my sister? Can you hit the subscribe button and continue to engage with us so that we bring you the content that is going to take us even more than 8 months further? I think we are enjoying what we are doing and we know that you are enjoying our content. So thank you for the support and continue to support us. That's all I would say to them.
Yeah. No. A journey is always more fun when there are a lot of people involved. And on this journey that we've had, we have had over 2,000 subscribers. We have That's on YouTube, and we have 1,000 subscribers on LinkedIn. I know it's probably same people, so on. So let's just say we've got more than 2,000 subscribers in such a short space of time.
To other people, that's nothing. But to us, it's quite a lot.
No, it's a big deal, and we don't even take it for granted. And
Yeah.
that's what also keeps us going. It's you guys when you hit the subscribe button, when you comment. Maybe not in the live space. Sometimes we get comments privately in WhatsApp chats and all. And that feedback, positive and or negative, always gives us that fuel to keep going. It's always nice to hear of how either myself, my co-host, or any of our guests impact someone. It
Yeah.
always whenever we put a smile on somebody's face or whenever we give a reflective moment for somebody, it means a lot to us. Even if it's just one person, I've talked about over 2,000, but even if it's just one person, for us, that's a lot. And we're always grateful for all of that feedback that's been shared. We're always grateful for the different comments. Sometimes people might even disagree, and we love the engagement.
Yeah.
And so we'll keep going for you. And, we would love to carry on with you guys on the journey. So it's really been inspiring. It's really been a great experience, and we're really looking forward to carrying on with you guys. There's another group of listeners, which is the guys in the background. Unfortunately, they're the ones who hold the camera, so we can't tell them to like have the cameras face themselves. But with Gearhead Media, I think these guys have been our all-weather friends. They have been very, very, very helpful, very flexible. Do they ever say no, eh? Do you guys ever say no? I just thought
No,
about it.
sometimes they are not available, then we adjust.
Okay, but when
But
they are not available, like, okay, it makes sense.
yeah,
But I think the help and the support that they've shown, also the insights. Some people just do jobs, but they've given us ideas and
yeah,
how we can do better. They've even helped us with quite a lot of things which could have been on our blind side. So I think to our team, Gearhead Media guys, thanks so much. Sometimes we never say some of these things, but we're
yeah,
really, really grateful to you guys for the help that you've given us.
yeah.
Yeah. And did you have anything in closing, or did you close already?
I think I already closed by just asking that the audience continues to support our noble cause to disseminate information about money and people. And it really feels amazing that even though it seems like why are these people doing this? I know some people wonder, like, why are you doing this? You have a million things to do. Why are we doing this? But I think it feels so impactful and so purposeful that we continue pushing and continue to be passionate about it because we know that it's going to touch one person out there. So yeah, we continue driving the impact and the purpose.
Yeah. No, thank you to our audience for all of the support. Thanks for the encouragement. And we hope and we know that we're going to continue getting better and doing better. And, our desire is to see each and every one of us grow from this show. That's our end goal, to grow from this show, to have you guys grow from this show, to pick up something, to learn, to maybe also identify individuals you would want to work with. I think just not too long ago, today, we did have Che, of course, who's an agricultural specialist, and we had been receiving phone calls, messages, and even today, people wanting to work with him, learn from him because of the value that they drew from that. We have people like Kulu Sola, who everybody on our show seems to know and seems to talk about him. Write your book. Hi, boss. Yes, I hope he's learned this. I hope he's heard this time. But having the Muiches, having the Sydney Casandas, we even had Tapiwa sharing business insights, and to many of our different guests that came on the show, we also say thank you to you guys. Thank you for making that time for us.
And some who agreed at the last minute. Some
The
people
last,
agreed just like with 2 days and they're like, yeah, I can do it. Like, okay, thank you. So there were people who canceled on us and ghosted us, but then there were also those people who, at like such short notice, they were like, yes, I can do it. And to those, we are so grateful.
I'll mention one. I'm going to mention Frank Banda from Wapik, because it was so last minute. And when you call, even like, ish, I was
Is he
grateful.
going to say
And he
yes?
just says, sure. I'm like, both. And even on the day, I had my doubts that he would make
That
it
you,
because
yeah.
his yes was so yesy that you're like, it's too yesy to be yes. It can't be a yes.
Yeah.
And he showed up, and it was such a great show. And there've been many other such people who really came through for us. And yeah, we're grateful to those guys.
And you even be scared that this guest, are they going to agree? Because in the first, in the beginning, when you asked me being nervous about filming, it wasn't even nervous about filming. It was nervous about approaching certain people to say,
Mm-hmm.
at that time, our podcast had such few, like a
Mm-hmm.
handful of
Mm-hmm.
followers. So even when you write to say, we have this podcast, here is a link, you're like, now when they see how many followers we have, will they say
Mm-hmm.
yes?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I remember something that beat me down in the beginning when we were just starting to invite people. Someone referred us to someone else, and then they sent me a screenshot because that person is like, no, but tell me about their podcast. I want to watch some episodes so that I determine if they are even the right fit for
Mm-hmm.
me. Yes, I understand them. They wanted to know if we are a right fit for them, but we were just starting out. We didn't even have content on our page that we must show them
You
if we are
show them,
like the
yeah.
right fit, right? So, like, I think for me, I was nervous that some people would say no. Even now, sometimes someone will refer me to someone, but maybe I have PTSD from being ghosted. That some days I'm just like, what if the guests don't show up? What if this person doesn't even think our podcast is worthy for them to come? And then you just see a person, no problem, I'll come. And they watch some episodes, and while they are preparing, they're even nervous. They're like, ish, will your audience even like what I'm going to talk about? They are also getting nervous, and you're like, okay, at the end of the day, we are all human. You may be thinking, oh my God, this is such a huge person. And when they come to the show, oh my God. But they're also just people. They also get nervous about appearing on a show. So that was interesting. And thank you to also our friends who were recommending people, because some people have just been like, hi, I like what you're doing, I think so and so would be a good
Mm-hmm.
guest on your show, and they come here and they share so many gems. So thank you to our audience, to our friends who are also sending us those recommendations of who we can have on the show.
And I think I was going to make one special mention. I know we're winding up. Um, that would have to be Sydney Kasanda, who came all the way from Chisamba. He's in a wheelchair. And,
And he was also recommended by Madame Leah, right?
yes, Madam Leah and also Kulusu as well. Again, common
Yes.
denominator. But yeah, so I mean, but for me, the important bit was him coming all the way from Chisamba. He's in a
Yeah.
wheelchair. I mean, he talked about the challenges of, movement, mobility, but he still made the time and
Yeah.
he came through and we had a very lovely conversation. But just that effort, that sacrifice, I think it wouldn't be right if we didn't mention it. And I think Mr.
Yeah.
Kasanda, thank you so much again for what you did and how you helped this show. And I know you did inspire quite a number of people as well. So
Yeah.
to everybody, to you, Mr. Kasanda, and everybody else, all of our guests, once more, I know I've said it 10 times, but thank you so much. Yeah, and so we have come to the end of our show, our 8 month reflection. Always remember to like, share, comment, subscribe. We always want to hear from you guys. And from Money and People podcast to you guys, it is bye.
Bye.